Hey, what's up everybody? It's Nick from Part-Time Pilot. We are now on day 4 of the 5-day challenge to making you a pilot in 2022. If you want to sign up for this challenge and start from the beginning, just go to parttimepilot.com/2022 challenge. And so far in this challenge, we've told you what the student pilot qualifications are. And if you want to watch that video, you can click up here. And then we showed you how to submit a student pilot application in IACRA. And then we also showed you how to meet with a recommending instructor, how to find a recommending instructor, meet up with them so that they can certify that you are who you say you are, verify your identity, verify that you speak good English, and then finalize your application in IACRA. And that process will get you your student pilot certificate sent to you in the mail, and bam, you're a student pilot just like that. It's got to feel good to accomplish your New Year's resolutions that fast in just 3 days. So let's keep it going. Day 4 is preparing for your medical exam. All right, so here we're going to determine the steps required to pass your third class medical exam. So before you begin flight training or ground training, you do not need a medical certificate. And you need a third class medical for a private pilot, but you do not need. So before you begin flight training or ground training, you do not need a medical certificate. However, you do need one before you first solo in an aircraft. This typically happens about 10 to 20 flight hours into your dual training with your flight instructor. So it's not critical that you get your medical exam done right away. However, it's a great idea to start thinking about your medical certificate because it could save you from a headache later. And this is especially true if you have any medical conditions, or maybe you have poor eyesight, bad hearing, anything like that that can cause an issue with the FAA medical examiner. It's going to be a huge headache if you do not prepare ahead of time and you go and you're already started flight training, you go in and take your medical exam, and they deny you or defer you, and now you're going to have months and months of paperwork with the FAA to deal with, and it's going to be a huge headache. You're going to wonder if you wasted all your money flight training. So this is why we're talking about this right now. We want to prepare your medical exam. We want to make sure you're prepared to pass that, and so we're going to teach you what's going to happen during the medical exam and then what you need to look out for. So there are many disqualifying medical conditions that the FAA lists. And the FAA will still allow, after a review process, if you have one of these, they'll still allow, if you can adequately control the condition in an aeromedically safe way, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But here are the disqualifying conditions listed in the FAA. I'm not going to list all these, but here they are for your reading, so go through that. And then there are other conditions not specifically listed there in the regulations that are also disqualifying. So if you think you may have another condition that might qualify or disqualify, you'll want to look at the Guide for Aviation Medical Examiners. And let me just show you that. So in Google, we're just going to type in Guide for Aviation Medical Examiners, and it's going to pop up right there. And here it is. And this is going to have all the information you need to know for disqualifying conditions. All right, so just type in Guide for Aviation Medical Examiners in Google, and it'll take you straight to the FAA. So on top of all those conditions that we listed and anything in the Guide for Aviation Medical Examiners, there's some vision and hearing requirements that you need to meet. So your distance vision must be correctable to 20/40 in each eye. Your near vision must be correctable to 20/40 or better in each eye, as measured at 16 inches. Your color vision must have the ability to perceive those colors necessary for safe performance of airman duties. This is a little bit vague, but that's where the AME, the Aero Medical Examiner, comes into play. They're going to, Aviation Medical Examiner, they're going to determine whether or not you might have that issue. And if they do, that you might get essentially a medical certificate that has limitations, and will say you can't fly at night because you can't use the colors that they use in lights at night, right? So like red and green lights on the taxiway, for example, that tell you certain things. You're not going to be able to discern those, so they wouldn't allow you, unfortunately, to fly at night. And then hearing, must be able to demonstrate hearing of an average conversational voice in a quiet room using both ears at 6 feet with the back turned to the examiner. All right, so those are some things you'll want to look out for as well. And then, so the medical exam is going to take anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, and it will include a urine test. A urine test. However, that urine test, it's only going to test for protein and sugar levels, and it won't test for drugs. So if you're a huge drug user, I'm just kidding. No huge drug users with pilots, but just so you know, it's going to test for protein and sugar levels. And then the medical exam should cost anywhere from $75 to $300, depending on the aviation medical examiner's fees. And then finally, there's 3 possible outcomes for your medical exam. The first one is pass or issued. So here you pass your exam, and then you leave the exam with your third-class medical certificate in your hand. The other option outcome that can happen is you're denied. So if you have any of the conditions listed above or cannot meet the vision or hearing requirements, then the examiner may issue a denial. This denial will be forwarded to the FAA Aero Medical Certificate Division, which will then issue you a formal denial letter. Denials are not necessarily permanent. If the pilot can present information that the disqualifying condition has been resolved or is being treated in an aeromedically safe manner, then the FAA may reinstate the certificate. So this is one reason, and we'll get to this in a second, that you want to make sure that you give yourself the best opportunity to pass your aviation medical exam. So this includes going to your regular doctor, doing everything you can before setting up your aviation medical exam, because you don't want them to find something that they will deny you, because that denial is sent to the FAA. And then once the FAA has it, then you got to deal with them. You have to send them paperwork to prove that it's been resolved or is being treated in an aeronautical safe manner, and this process takes months and months. And if you're already flight training, you'll want to keep flight training so you don't lose proficiency, but you have that uncertainty of not knowing if you're even going to be medically cleared to fly, and that could be really stressful and wondering if you're just completely wasting your money. All right, so and then the final outcome is a deferral. So the last outcome is a deferral where the examiner notes a medical condition that they deem questionable, and rather than give you a denial, they defer you to the regional flight surgeon or the Aero Medical Certificate Division at the FAA. So this is if you do have a condition that you think might get denied, this is the outcome you want. You want the aviation medical examiner to defer you. So this is where, and we'll get to this again in a tip, you'll want to establish a relationship with your AME prior to seeing them for the exam and ask them questions. Say, hey, I have this condition, is this disqualifying? What can I do to get this to not be disqualifying? Can I get a deferral so that we can work with the FAA? You can help me submit my paperwork so that I can get my medical certificate, maybe with some limitations or with sometimes a lot what they'll do is the FAA will just say that, hey, you just have to get a checkup more often than most people. So again, that's why you want to work with your AME ahead of time and make sure you're 100% ready for your aviation medical exam before you take it. Deferrals can take over 2 months to get a response from the FAA. So again, that's why it's a good idea to get started your medical certificate as soon as possible. Usually the FAA will ask for additional information. If no information is received within 30 days, they'll deny your application. But you can't call the FAA and ask for an extension on this 30 days. So with all that in mind, let's summarize the steps you should take for your third-class medical certificate. All right, so if you believe you have no issues with any of the listed conditions, then go ahead and schedule your medical exam. First, you'll need to make an account at the FAA's MedExpress website listed here. Simply click Request an Account and fill out your personal information to request an account. So let's go see real quick what that looks like. All right, so I simply typed in MedExpress in Google, and it took me to the FAA MedExpress page. And then we're going to click Request an Account. And then all you need to do is fill in your last name, first name, email address, confirm your email address, and then fill in these security questions. agree to the liability, and click submit. That's all you have to do. And then now that you're in the system, that will allow your medical examiner to go in, find your account, and put your results into the FAA. And this is required. So it happens quick. You can probably do it the day of, but this is how you do it at MedExpress. The next thing you're going to do is find an AME and give them a call to schedule your exam near you. You can find an AME at this link. Obviously, you can't click this link in the video. We'll put that link down in the video notes, and then we'll show it to you what that looks like right here. So I just typed in find an AME in Google. It's the first one, and then you click search for an AME. This is the same page that we searched for a DPE, a designated pilot examiner, but instead of picking DPE like that, we're going to select AME, do location search, enter your location, and then it'll pull up a list of AMEs. You can call them, you can ask them what their fee is, you can start to establish a relationship with them, ask them questions. If you have a condition, tell them, hey, this is my condition, this is when I want to start training, what do I need to do, what do you think I need to do, is this disqualifying, stuff like that. The better relationship you have with them, the more prepared, the more questions you ask, the better. And then finally, you're going to want to bring with you a valid photo ID. The medical examiner has to make sure you are who you say you are, so be sure to bring that. All right, so now if you think you might have any condition that could hinder your ability to pass the exam in any way, here are some tips, which we've already talked about some of them, but here, let's go over these one more time. So first, you will need to make an account at MedExpress, just like we just showed. Then a tip is to visit your normal primary doctor and get completely up to date on your condition, and then ask them for any medical records, any prescription records. Have them print them off so you can have them and be ready to send them to the FAA if you need to. This will save you time and another trip to the doctor's office. So ask for all your medical records, get all that stuff, and get up to date on your condition, get up to date on your medications. Make sure you are good to go. Another thing this is going to do by visiting your primary doctor is they might find something that you didn't know you had. And this will give you time to deal with that before you go to the aviation medical examiner, because you don't want them to find something you didn't know you had and they could give you a denial. So go to your primary doctor first. All right, the next, establish a relationship with an AME. We already talked about this. We showed you how you can find them. Find one near you. Give them a call. You can call a few of them. Ask them the same questions. Gather some data. Get a relationship with them. Tell them about your condition and tell them what you can do. You really want to be a pilot, and they'll want to help you out. All right, so just be honest with them and ask them if there's anything you can do before the exam, to make sure that you can get your medical certificate. And then finally, do not take your medical exam if you are not medically qualified. So if you meet any of those conditions, don't take your medical exam. We've talked about this the whole time. I just want to reiterate. We talked about going to your primary doctor, establishing a relationship with the AME before you go, getting all your paperwork in order. You want to do all that before you take the exam. You want to avoid getting a deferral or denial as much as possible, especially the denial, because it's going to cause you a huge headache with the FAA. So let's try to avoid that as much as possible. Finally, once you have done all that you can to best prepare yourself for the exam, schedule it by finding an AME near you. We just showed you that FAA tool. It's the same one as the DPE. You can just type in Google, find an AME. You want to bring the appropriate documentation with you that may better explain your condition. So that's why we talked about getting medical records from your doctor, as well as proof of your identity, so a valid photo ID. And then make sure, if you have glasses or contacts or hearing aids or any aids, right, that help you see or hear better, even if you don't normally wear them, but if they make you see or hear better, then bring them and wear them. Okay, so even if you don't usually wear glasses, but they help you, bring them. So do a test at home. Do a little eye test from far away and check your glasses. Say, do these help me for this test? If so, bring them. You'll need them. Okay, so that is it. Those are the tips for your third class medical exam. We showed you how to find an AME. You would schedule directly with them. So the one you establish a relationship with, the one that has a good fee that is near you, just ask them when they're available for an exam and schedule it once you're ready. And we also talked about all the things you want to do if you have a condition to avoid getting denied for your medical exam. So be sure to do those. You don't have to get your medical exam until you start soloing. So you don't have to do it right now, but it's good to start thinking about it. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, comment below.